Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. I am Ben, and the Imps are at home on Tuesday night. We welcome Huddersfield Town, so of course, the right thing to do was to get Kosi back from And He Takes That Chance podcast. How you doing, mate? You keeping well?
Yeah, good, mate. Good to see you again.
Yeah, welcome back to the channel, mate. Thanks for coming back on. So yeah, I suppose really, first things first. You guys have had a bit of a big change over the past few weeks, I think, months. Last time we faced, Michael Duff was in charge, and you guys were playing a sort of 3-5-2. And over the past few weeks, it's all changed, isn't it? What's gone on there, and was it a surprise to you?
Kind of yes and no, really. I think the problem is, I think this season, it's more than just this season. There's such a big rebuilding job still to be done at Huddersfield Town, and there's about 6 players out of contract in the summer. Kind of players who've been in this for a long time. And to me, we needed to have someone in, which for me was Michael Duff, to see this through, because we've got a summer coming up now where decisions have got to be made on players. And the biggest problem we've got Huddersfield, as you'll probably see with some banners that want the travelling support on Saturday, the sporting director is getting in the neck. And obviously Michael Duff went. I was at Bristol Rovers his last game as well. It wasn't good whatsoever, to be fair. But there were no fans chanting for his head at all. We had, I don't say dropped off a cliff, but the form had dipped quite a lot since we had a 16-game unbeaten run. I think it might have started when we drew with you, to be honest with you, and that as well. But that we were a bit of fighting spirit back then. And Bristol Rovers really poor, but the only caveat is, so it's not only caveat, it's a big caveat. We've had so many injuries, unbelievable. I think we've had like 30 plus injuries, so Michael Duff's been hamstrung. I think what went against him with some fans is just the style of football. But when you pot Michael Duff, he's not going to be Guardiola style, beautiful Thomas Tuchel, exciting football. We're none of that. And but the form was dire. We were pretty much out of the playoff reckoning, and but to me, it's kind of hold your nerve, because I'm just thinking the issue is the director of football for me bringing in some wrong players that doesn't fit his style. I mean, I'm not going to mention Freddie Ladapo. Embarrassing. I think from what I was seeing yesterday on social media, he got married yesterday. So like, we've got a game on yesterday, and he's not even on the bench. He's getting married apparently. So unbelievable. That's where we're at. We were another bad signing, like 2-year. I think he signed on a 2-year deal, and so we're just wasting our money. But yeah, I felt sorry for Duff. I think there's a lot of attitudes in the squad that needed to be ironed out. I think he'd done a decent job, kind of to get into where it was. But was it going wrong? Yeah, but you know what? If you're bringing someone in who's like kind of a bit of a coup and stuff, but all he's done is put the youth team coach in, and I better watch what I say, because I badmouthed Crawley out because they were horrendous against us. And I was telling everyone on the Rotherham pod the other day that enjoy your 3 points. And obviously we know what happened to Steve Evans after Saturday. So maybe obviously they got a new manager in there for that game, and against us they didn't have one. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess, to be honest. The season's been up and down. Don't think anyone's really enjoyed it. We're on the fringes now of the playoffs. We're just behind Reading, but the thing is, when you're going for promotion or trying to get in the playoffs, you're living every game. You're looking out for other scores. You've got that excited in you. There's none of that at Huddersfield, and I think a lot of it's to do with the owner and sporting director. And yeah, I feel sorry for Michael Duff, because I think he's been made a scapegoat of a bigger problem.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like it. Obviously, there are a few other off-field issues which we'll come on to a little bit later on. But I mean, in terms of the recent form, I mean, obviously, I think there's I was having looks 2 wins in 6, if I remember rightly, or 2 wins in 7 actually. So obviously the win was against Crawley, who aren't necessarily the best side in the division by quite a way. And then previous to that was a 2-1 win away against Stevenage. Other games in there, obviously a loss to Peterborough, a loss to Wigan, a loss to Wrexham, and then a loss to Bristol Rovers. And obviously we've got to touch on what seems like a bit of a disaster yesterday away at Charlton. So you say obviously some of those are a Duff game. Some of those are games with Worthington in charge. I mean, is it has there been a dramatic shift in style? Obviously, I can see you've changed the shape, or I can see Worthington's tried to change the shape of the side. Is there anything in those first couple of games where you think, oh, hang on a minute, yeah, we might be able to do something here?
Not really. I mean, I think so much of it was down to Crawley being bad and not being able to defend. It's incredible. It must have been a new team that played at New York Stadium yesterday because, against us, they were awful. They were absolutely awful. And I didn't think Huddersfield, did much different, to be honest, when Michael Duff were there. But yesterday was a disaster. The trouble is you seem to be saying this every week, but I honestly think it's the worst performance I've seen from an Huddersfield team for a good 20 years. It was horrendous. For such a big game, when we knew Nathan Jones were going to be up for it, there's a previous between him and us with Luton and the playoffs and things like that as well. We blooded their nose in the home game and that as well. They were a bit aggrieved about it. So they were going to be proper up for it. They'd lost at Peterborough. So we need to match their intensity. They were at home. We need to go from the word go. We were behind after 30 seconds with the most pathetic goal you've ever seen. Players just an incredible first half performance. We had guys tripping up over the feet. We had someone taking a throw in who just threw it out. We didn't lay a glove. And to be honest, mate, it could have been, by the end, Ford flattered Huddersfield. It could have been 7 or 8 easily. Wow. And it was and I think what worried me is obviously John Worthington's like a bit of a, kind of a bit of a, I say, probably club legend, has been with us for many years and things. And he was always a battle warrior, art in your sleeve kind of guy. And obviously we saw it in the first game, but I can't believe it. It's almost like I'm just trying to picture. I just him like 12. It's like, and he's saying we need to do this, that, and the other, and they just didn't do anything. It was so passive. It was pathetic. And they played a high-prestige Charlton. They got in our faces, and we were absolutely pathetic. There were nothing there. He was just weak. He might have been so many of the championship games last season, but you know what? When you play teams with better quality, better wage bills, and what have you, then you can kind of accept it. This was unacceptable, and you know what? For the 12:30 kickoff, I think we took like 1,600 fans there, which is quite incredible, really. And they were served up with that. He was desperate. And we were looking around each other like 20 minutes, 30 minutes and thinking, wow, this is such a big game for our season. Obviously, they were above us pretty much now. For me, we can't catch them. But the mental damage it's done, it was almost like players were almost saying to like the assistant managers, like, up yours, we're done for the season. And I'm thinking, wow, you should have everything to play for. Even culminating with the most, honestly, you thought he were bad during the game. And then we see an incredible video of Dion Charles, who's been signed, is injured. He's at Blackpool in the away end for Bolton, having selfies on a video, which is incredible. And I can't believe it. It's almost like, hang on a minute, mate. I read the room here. You're in the away end at a promotion rivals who we've signed. And it's like you're having videos. It's almost like taking the, you know what I mean? And that just shows where we are as a club. I think all of them are not Ladapo there. I suppose they got him married. You've got people doing their own thing, mate. And unfortunately, Duff did a good job, I think, to can all that and to do as much as he can. But it's unraveling now, and it's a mess. And obviously, a lot of disharmony in the fan base. Obviously, you've seen our season card renewals, but they've gone up ridiculous. I know we were paid. To be fair, I know we paid the low, but you can't put something at £190 and expect someone to pay in 5 weeks. So again, this was a shambles really, because the supporters groups and their owner had been having meetings, so they were kind of being sounded out. We were, people were saying, if this happens, you're going to get that. And they just went and did what they wanted. They were incredible. They abolished like an under 23 age cap. They got rid of cheap tickets with Charles. They've done a bit of a U-turn on some of it now, but it's just embarrassing. And it happened last season with a U-turn on season ticket prices. So you've got obviously on the pitch going a bit wrong. But you had an owner, mate, when we were in fifth, doing an interview on BBC Radio Leeds saying fifth is not good enough for Huddersfield Town. So in other words, he was saying we need that second spot behind Birmingham. And to be honest, it looked like I thought it were panning out that way. We were playing all right in January. We were beating Wickham. We looked set bare. We'd obviously signed your mate who scored all the goals last season. And the aforementioned Dion Charles, I thought this is it. But yeah, injuries, loss of form. Taylor got injured, I think, like second game. And it's a disaster. And to be honest, it feels like the season's done, and it should do because you look at the table. But have I got any appetite to see us in the Championship? I don't think so. I think it'd be embarrassing, mate. We've only got to see what Derby have done. And then, but the trouble is now we're without a manager again. So who's going to oversee this summer rebuilding job? And honestly, it's just unbelievable, really. But the owner, you know what, mate? He seems a good guy, but he's not like he don't feel like a nasty guy. Like you see some of these owners, obviously, I've seen at Reading and Hull and other people like that who are proper like vindictive or even chancery to a certain extent. But To me, he's just got no football nous. And so,
Yeah.
okay, people in who have. If that's not his forte, but the people who he's got, mate, are off. The sporting director's been terrible. The CEO's been garbage. The guy, they've got a finance director. This is the guy who thought putting season cards up with £90 like in one go, to give him 5-week window, we're going to be a good thing. So a lot of doom and gloom around, mate, at the moment. So yeah, probably logic goes out the window. We might win on Tuesday, but you're playing us at a good time, mate. And I think, honestly, I could not believe it. For such a big game yesterday, the pathetic effort, especially in the first half. We were done, and his keeper saved us from a 6, 7, or 8. He was pathetic, mate, and it just makes me embarrassed, like, to think of a playoff pushing out. But yeah, look at that table; it's still achievable. But you know what? I could think of a lot easier games to have tomorrow than. But to be, and then the Lincoln away, I think it's such a tough game to get back, try and get back on the horse, as I say.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like when one thing starts to go wrong, you tend to see sort of a number of dominoes starting to fall. And I think from what you've said there, and obviously the news that we've seen, as mentioned about like things like the season ticket prices, and it just seems to be a very, I think you said the word, like it just seems to be a lot of disharmony amongst everything. And between the on pitch, the fans, and the execs, and it's a weird thing to see for a team that's.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be fair, knocking on the door of the playoffs, and you've been there most of the season, and I think there'd probably be still some people that would say, stick a bit on Huddersfield to finish in the top 6.
No, maybe big name by kind of the budget and stuff. Obviously, signing strikers for 3 million in the January window, that's going to get expectation there. But you know what? You've seen promotion seasons. I've seen promotion seasons. I think you could smell them. I think when everyone's on the same page. I think when you're on a journey. Yeah, there's going to be the odd exception and things like that. So I think I honestly, I'm just thinking, Jesus, if we scrambled into 6 and end up playing Charlton, it could be like 10, 11, 2 in aggregate. But obviously, football's a funny beast, though, isn't it? Things can just make no sense at all, and things like that as well. But it feels I felt it like after that Bristol Rovers game, and Duff paid the price and that, but it feels like to me our race is run. Yet there's players coming back, supposedly, who, been out for injured for a bit. But I mean, you had a guy yesterday, centre-half playing, who's, our best centre-half, but he looked about 30% fit. He gave the ball away after about 20 seconds. Embarrassing. He put absolute horror show, mate. It looked like he were on something, mate. And like, that's not him. And it's just a big complete mess. And you've got a youth coach kind of trying to manage it and that as well. It's it's a lot of doom and gloom. But yeah, you look at the table. Yeah, there's all to play for, etc., etc. But the feeling in the camp, the players, honestly, it was just an incredible performance for such a big game. Yeah, Charlton played really well, probably the best we've seen this season. But they had nothing to beat, and it's like, if you're going to go down there, go down fighting. Especially we brought 1,600 fans, London into, and yeah, it's like the old thing, isn't it? You're like, especially up north, people want to see battling and that. Well, we saw nothing, and the away end were emptying pretty much with 20 minutes to go, and I won that left on 66 minutes. So yeah, guilty as charged, man.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, look, let's talk about, obviously, the performance aside from yesterday. Is there anything that you can see at the minute from this, sort of slightly rejigged lineup that's been brought in, this new shape? I say switching to a back 4. Is there anything that you can see and think, maybe we could still scrape over that? I mean, we've got, what is it, 8 games left? You've got 8 games left. I think 1 point away from the top 6 as it stands. And there are some games in there that you'd probably expect to win. The likes of Burton. You'd expect to be beating the likes of Exeter as well. Is it? You say it feels like the season's gone. Is it? Do you think that might be a bit of a knee jerk, or is it genuinely a feeling of, well, we've stuffed it this year?
Maybe we're like 3rd. I think we were 5 behind Wycombe game in hand when we beat them, and just like coming at the end of Jan, and he's coming away so quick. He does, but there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. Injuries has been a big issue. Michael Dunbar was able to barely select a squad for the same game, game after game as well. But he just does, man. I think a lot of stuff's about momentum. I watched Leighton on it the other night. There's a big spirit in their camp. They're right on his tails now. I suppose the only thing you've got to watch out for is Reading impending. And you know what? We all play fair, I think. I don't want Reading to lose points, I think they've been through the mill, their supporters. And it's incredible that I don't know if it's just how bad the division is or how amazing Reading are doing, but it's like I think you can be really bad in this division and kind of get nick in a playoff spot. I don't think you have to be anything brilliant and that as well. And I look at the moment, I'm trying to take the positive, thinking we've been pretty atrocious like for a long time of the season, but yet we're still there, within touching distance and that as well. And then you're thinking later
Well,
on.
I think the thing we've said before on our podcast is that you don't have to be brilliant to achieve a playoff spot. You've got to be consistent, and whether that's consistently getting draws when losses would be on the cards, and if you can consistently just do a little bit more, that seems to be the way that you get ahead in the division. So I think that might be what Reading have done more than anything else, to be honest with you.
No, it just you've got. I think you come to football to enjoy it. I think, and I just it's unbelievable. I mean,
it's hard to, isn't it, when there's that much going on and off the field.
Big thing as well, mate, because you've got friendships there. It's like been there for years. I get that. We've been lucky to have £250 season tickets, but these people like been there for years. I'm not coming next year, and you often hear this, don't you? With season cards go, "Oh, the season's not being good. Yeah, I'm not coming," and this, that, and the other. But I know people swear blind they won't be there, and it's so frustrating because you think like obviously it seems like about 20 years ago, not like 6, 7, 8 years ago when we were in Premier League, and like the town of Huddersfield were unbelievable. Like to football, it just felt so good, and we got all them fans on the journey, and we knew we were never going to stay there, but you want to keep them there, and it's just like they're just ripping all that up, and I just think it's like the other day the chairman's like backworded on some of these prices, and Pat's thinking, "Oh, it's great, listen to the fans." But mate, we were telling you before you put the price on. I just think if you U-turn that much, people just lose trust in the board and things like that as well. But that doesn't excuse what we saw yesterday at Charlton as well. I wasn't fooled at all by Crawley. They were awful, but like I said, they were incredible that they won at Rotherham and there. Yeah. But there'll be a disillusioned fan base, mate, in that away end, and we'll probably fill it on Tuesday night, and it won't take much for it to the chance to come out, the banners to come out if you kind of get on us early and stuff as well. But honestly, I've lost so much trust in the players. They've just let us down so many times. It's like, what are we going to get Tuesday? Because you're probably going to ask me for a prediction later on or whatever. But it's like, I just don't know. And part of me thinks the best we'll get is a draw and a draw. I don't know if it's good enough anymore, mate. We need to win. Yeah,
well, so let's come on to Tuesday then, because obviously, I think one question that a lot of Lincoln fans will probably have with away from how are we going to perform, and it's one that is linked to that question about switching to a back four. Obviously, last Sorensen signed for you guys in the summer, and it sounds like switching to a back four, you're not going to be in need of a right wing back. So it almost seems like Lass is now surplus to requirements. And obviously, the other big name that we're all very familiar with, as you've mentioned, is Joe Taylor, who is going to be out for. Is he out for the season now, or is it? He's
playing. He's back.
Is he back? Sorry.
To be honest, mate, he was one of the ones that gave a toss yesterday. Ran about. He's got good energy, but his service were abysmal. So no, he's back. To be honest, Dion Charles is the one. I think.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
He'd be off, but you'll see. Sorensen's been a funny one, mate, because he started the season on fire. I remember doing the podcast with you before, and then he kind of dropped out of the team. I think we were talking, weren't we, like, will he play? But yeah, they got injured, and then Duff didn't take a liking for him, and certainly defensively. And yeah, I don't know where his head's at, to be honest with you. But when he's played, mate, I've been being a bit underwhelmed by him, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know about this. Going to sound bad, but obviously you liked him. But his attitude, again, it might be a good. His attitude doesn't seem all that. There's a lot of gesturing, a lot of shouting at people and stuff. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking if I were on his team, I'd be a bit pissed off with him, if pardon my French. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, but yeah, at the start of the season, every other goal was Sorensen bombing in the box and great cross, and we were scoring. So there's a player there. I think he'll probably play on Tuesday after what happened. It's going to be a bit of a rejig after yesterday's debacle. But he kind of sums up the season, really. Confused. There's a player there. And it's just like, he's probably thinking, well, hang on a minute, I came in under Michael Duff, now he's gone, and where's my head going to be? So you've got, and then there's players out of contract. It's a bit of a mess. It's, be interesting to see how it all pans out. But yeah, Tuesday, I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest with you. But
I think the thing that worries a lot of people is obviously we know what Joe Taylor's capable of. And as you say, if you can get some decent service, I think, he's obviously going to be the one to watch. I mean, so we'll start to wrap up quickly then. So, given everything that's gone on off the pitch and away from the touchline. Is there? Well, you've mentioned it's not an easy place to come to Central Bank at the minute. Is this the one game that you kind of thought, I wish this had come about 3 or 4 weeks earlier? And how do you see it? How do you see you guys setting up first and foremost? And how do you see it going?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I think obviously Lincoln and Huddersfield will be a bit of a preview. It's a bit of a weird rivalry, but there is a bit of a rivalry in there. So you'll be up for it, and your fan base will be up for it, and like I say, your team will probably be up for it. And Huddersfield, I thought we were going to be really up for it yesterday, and we never saw it. So the big question is, are we going to get a reaction? It's really difficult. I just think if you got out of contract players, I'm just wondering how arsed are you going to be? I know, professionals and blah blah blah, but I just think when you know in the summer that your future's probably going to be away from Huddersfield, why are you going to go in for those 50-50s and Buster Gut and stuff like that as well? I think I think there'll be a bit of rejigging. It's really awkward, really, because like Radinho Balker, who's the guy who cocked up with the first goal after 20 odd seconds, he looked about 25% fit. He were hauled off pretty much early in the second half. So but the positive, we've got David Kazuma coming back as well. But again, how fit he is, has been out for a while. He's one of our best players as midfielder. Irby Kane's been solid mismate, lack of creativity. We've got George, little guy from Wolves. He's kind of anonymous as well. I think, it'll be interesting. But John Worthington's come in and he kind of gave it out big in the press conference when, attacking football, we're going to have a go where that was, I thought it was a bit of a cheap shot sometimes, like at the door. I always think, when one manager goes, they always go, the team weren't fit enough, or the football weren't this and that and the other. It's just, but it's going to be fascinating to see. But honestly, I'd rather be playing at Cambridge or somewhere like that, but Lincoln away. But you know what? It might be one of the best things, but I just, I'm not so sure we're going to do it. I think we'll lose 2-1, to be honest with you, if you're pushing me on the score.
Well, there we go. I think I was going to ask for a prediction, but you've kind of you've offered one up already for me there, mate. I think there would be a number of us that would take that 2-1. I think our season is probably petering out a little bit, and we are going to be the side note in a lot of other a lot of other teams, stories as it goes. So, but look, I mean, I think I'm going to say I think we can. Sorry, I'll agree with you. I'll say 2-1. I'd like to see it happen. It's always nice, and at the bank under the lights. So
it should be good, and I'll probably see you again next season, mate. I think way I'm feeling at the moment, but
well, we will wish you guys all the best for the rest of the season, apart from tomorrow night. Is there anywhere that, or anything you want to plug quickly? 20, 30 seconds or so, just to let everyone know where they can find you and the rest of your crew.
Yeah, we're just recording after this, actually. And he Takes That Chance podcast. So it's Takes That Chance. We couldn't get the hand on the URL. So Takes That Chance on Twitter and YouTube and that as well. And that's pretty much us. We've got, we're on Patreon as well. And we do like a preview show as well. So I don't know if you can contact us to do a little bit with us. So it's honestly, the guys, respect to the guys who do some of these shows, because I do a lot, but it's, as you know, as a podcaster yourself, it's, especially when you get the low blows and then you've had a tough day at work, you just think you have to record. But you know what? People love what you do. And I don't know about you, but when I go to the games, people say, don't ever lose the podcast and please keep recording stuff. So it's nice to be appreciated. So that's what we're on.
There we go. Well, look, thank you ever so much for coming on again, mate. Really do appreciate it. I for your perspective, I really hope we're not talking again next season, but if we are, you're more than welcome to come back.
Beautiful. See you soon.
Right. Yeah, so right, until next time, up the Imps.